It was a cold, foggy evening in the small village of Blackwood. The villagers were used to the eerie silence that surrounded the Black Mountain, a mysterious peak that loomed over their homes. No one dared to venture near it, for it was said that the mountain was cursed. But on this particular night, something strange happened. A scream echoed from the direction of the mountain, piercing the stillness of the night. Detective Arthur Lane was sitting in his cozy study, sipping on a cup of tea, when he received a telegram. It was from the mayor of Blackwood, urgently requesting his help. The message read, "Detective Lane, we need your expertise. A man has gone missing near the Black Mountain. Please come at once." Arthur Lane was known for his sharp mind and ability to solve the most puzzling cases. He packed his bag, put on his trench coat, and boarded the next train to Blackwood. When he arrived, the village was in a state of panic. The missing man was Thomas Grayson, a wealthy businessman who had recently moved to Blackwood. He had last been seen heading toward the Black Mountain, despite warnings from the villagers. Detective Lane began his investigation by speaking to the villagers. The first person he met was Mrs. Eliza Grayson, Thomas's wife. She was a frail woman with tear-filled eyes. "Detective, my husband was a curious man," she said. "He didn't believe in the curse. He said he wanted to explore the mountain and prove there was nothing to fear." "Did he mention anything unusual before he left?" asked Lane. Mrs. Grayson hesitated. "He did say something about a strange light he saw on the mountain the night before. He thought it might be a signal of some kind." Detective Lane thanked her and decided to visit the Black Mountain himself. As he approached the base of the mountain, he noticed a set of footprints leading up the rocky path. He followed them carefully, his eyes scanning the ground for clues. Halfway up the mountain, he found a torn piece of fabric caught on a bush. It matched the description of the coat Thomas had been wearing. Nearby, he spotted a small, shiny object, a silver pocket watch with the initials T.G. engraved on it. The detective continued his climb, the fog growing thicker with every step. Suddenly, he heard a faint sound, like a whisper carried by the wind. He stopped and listened carefully. The sound seemed to be coming from a cave hidden behind a cluster of rocks. Inside the cave, Detective Lane found Thomas Grayson, unconscious but alive. He quickly checked his pulse and breathed a sigh of relief. Thomas was weak, but would survive. When Thomas regained consciousness, he told the detective what had happened. "I saw a light on the mountain and followed it. I thought it might be a campfire or something. But when I reached the cave, I was hit on the head. I don't remember anything after that." Detective Lane knew there was more to the story. He searched the cave and discovered a hidden passage leading deeper into the mountain. At the end of the passage, he found a small room filled with stolen goods, jewels, paintings, and rare artifacts. It was clear that someone had been using the cave as a hideout. As he examined the room, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned around to see a tall, shadowy figure holding a lantern. "Who are you?" demanded Detective Lane. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a face Lane recognized. It was Samuel Blackwood, the village blacksmith and a respected member of the community. "Samuel, what are you doing here?" asked Lane. Samuel sighed. "I had no choice, Detective. I needed the money. My wife is ill, and I couldn't afford her treatment. I started stealing from wealthy travelers and hiding the goods here. When Thomas saw the light from my lantern, I panicked and knocked him out." Detective Lane felt a pang of sympathy, but knew that Samuel's actions were wrong. "You should have asked for help instead of resorting to crime," he said. Samuel nodded, tears in his eyes. "I know. I'm ready to face the consequences." The next day, Detective Lane returned to the village with Thomas Grayson and Samuel Blackwood. The villagers were shocked to learn the truth about the Black Mountain's so-called curse. It had all been a cover for Samuel's crimes. Thomas Grayson forgave Samuel, understanding the desperation that had driven him to such lengths. He even offered to help pay for Samuel's wife's treatment. As for Detective Arthur Lane, he left Blackwood with a sense of satisfaction. Another mystery solved, and justice served. The Black Mountain was no longer a place of fear, but a reminder that even in the darkest places, the truth could be found.